Hey, beautiful community out there. How the heck are you? And I mean it. How the heck are you doing? Do you feel supported today? Because some days it could just feel like things are spiraling or you feel scattered. And I definitely have felt that recently. And I just want to say you're not alone. You'll get through it. These are just brief moments that are challenging us to help us step into our next growth phase. Even if it feels small, these are the times that help us push into that next level of understanding how to move forward in ways that feel right for us. And sometimes, as we know in commercial fishing, we need our team, we need support, we need people around us to help us get to that next level. And this ties in perfectly with this conversation today. We have Beth Casoni, who is the executive director of the Massachusetts Lobstermen Association. And what I love about Beth is, well, number one, she's incredibly knowledgeable, and she also comes from a commercial fishing family herself, so she totally gets it. And so today we're talking to Beth about the Massachusetts Lobstermen's Association, about something that goes deeper than fishing. It's about the community, it's about that real care, and it's about what happens when the unthinkable happens as well. As we know, the sea is unpredictable. As partners, we freaking know this. But amid the risk, there's a tight-knit community that shows up for one another in powerful ways. We talk about how the families and the association show up for each other, how the association steps in during tragedy, and how they actively reach out to officials to make sure that their fishermen's voices are heard. I'm talking driving hundreds of miles, knocking on doors, getting into meetings to make sure that people are understanding that the fishermen out there are the legacy holders of the ocean. They're the ones who deeply care for the state of our seas. They're the ones who deeply want nothing but healthy fisheries for generations to come. Beth is such a freaking powerhouse. And to hear not only how they do the outreach, but how they're so organized, how they bring people together in their meetings with one another to make sure that positive change happens. It's such an example, such a great inspiration of how we can implement that into our own communities. I really hope you enjoy this episode with Beth Casoni. I'm Megan Waldrop, host of the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast, an extension of an online community for partners to connect and feel less alone. Our podcast invites fishermen, family, friends, and supporters of the industry to learn, laugh, vent, and hear stories about this incredibly unique way of life. What do you say? Let's dive in. Hey, partners. As you know, one of my greatest joys is recognizing how important you are to the commercial fishing industry. But did you know that POCFs are also the biggest influencers when it comes to safety? In fact, the number one reason that fishermen say they wear safety gear is, quote, because my partner tells me to. That's the power of love, and it plays a vital role in keeping our fishermen safe. Talking to your fishermen about safety can reduce the current reality that 80% of fishermen who are lost at sea weren't wearing a PFD. We can change that. That's why I'm proud to partner with Kent Safety Products. They make Coast Guard approved PFDs and innovative flotation gear designed specifically for commercial fishermen. Their gear is comfortable, durable, and made to move with fishermen no matter the fishery, because the best safety gear is the kind they'll actually wear. And just so you know, we only partner with companies that genuinely care and produce high-quality products for the well-being of our fishing communities. Kent Safety Products is definitely one of them. Visit kentsafetyproducts.com to find the right gear for you, your fishermen, and your kiddos too. That's kentsafetyproducts.com. Hey, Beth, I'm so happy that we get to talk today because it is such a joy to not only talk to people who speak the same language, but are actively in it with the commercial fishing families. And I'm really appreciate your time and sharing everything that you do with the Massachusetts Lobstermen's Association. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Megan, for having me. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm happy to talk about all things fishing. And I think we do a lot to help the fishermen and their families alike.
Thank you for that. Thank you for all you do. And so let's get started from the beginning. What drew you to the Massachusetts Lobstermen's Association?
So my uncle is a commercial lobsterman. My brother is a retired commercial lobsterman, and I grew up in Marshfield, Massachusetts, which is a small community on the East Coast, just south of Boston. And we have a very large commercial fishing fleet in the port of Brant Rock / Green Harbor. And, when I was offered an opportunity to come help with our trade show 18 years ago, which is hard to believe, I took an opportunity and I came. Came in October 18 years ago, and I just helped, do whatever they needed. It was pretty much just, they called me Jane Go To Friday. So I just literally dove in, and I was pursuing a career in law enforcement and actively seeking a job on a local police force, which I did get ultimately. But my true love was here, and I just could not do enough to help. So they kept me on after the trade show. I stayed. I was, working part time as a police officer per diem, designing kitchens and doing this. And ultimately, after 3 years of trying to juggle it all, and, I just finally talked to the president and said, I need to make a decision. I either need to pursue law enforcement 100%, or if there's room to grow here, I would be happy to stay. And he said, let me get back to you. He came back a couple of days later and offered me a promotion. And, I became the director shortly thereafter. So I've never looked back. I wholeheartedly came, and I've never looked back. I have no regrets. So, commercial fishing is in my blood, and, the fishermen, I say some are saltier than others, and, I can be a little salty too. So we all get along just fine.
I love that. So true. Some can be saltier than the others.
Yeah.
And that's interesting that you chose this career path and also the theme. Well, first of all, the fact that you have a creative side and that you were designing, I think that is really interesting that you
Yeah,
were able to
designing
do that.
kitchens. I sold thousands of kitchens over my
Wow.
career,
That's
and I love
amazing.
it. I might retire and go do that again someday. That's
Yeah.
fun.
That's great because you were able to harness that part of your creative side, which is so important, I feel. And but the fact that for the fork in the road for you were two high risk jobs. You were either going to go into law enforcement or support a community that's also very high risk. And I know you said that salt is in your blood, and I totally understand that. It's beautiful that you have this familial connection to it. I'm wondering, what was it about the MLA that drew you to it? Like, what about that made you think this is the path I want to take?
I saw that it needed a new, fresh approach. And, my predecessor did a great job. Bill Adler, he was here for 25 years. He sat on many commissions and committees, and technology was coming in. And I think when I first gave an update on Twitter and tweeting, they were like a little scratching their head. And Facebook was new. So I brought us to the millennia. And we have an online presence. And, I think just bringing that technology and that educational component, that it's a great tool, was very beneficial. And, you know, seeing what the commercial fishermen go through, regulatory, financially, family. I just wanted to help in any way possible. And the more that I knew, I made it my mission to make sure that they knew too.
Amazing. And you mentioned about the regulatory, the family, and what was the other topic that you just
Um,
mentioned? Regardless, what
yeah.
what are the main focuses of MLA?
So we focus on primarily the lobster resource. We have members from Canada to Cape May, New Jersey that fish for a variety of species. But for the Massachusetts component, we focus on the Massachusetts coastal lobster fishery. We do get involved in other fisheries when it has an impact on the lobster industry. But when it comes time to management through the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission, that's where we weigh in. We are an organization that is built with elections. We have delegates that are elected by their peers. They bring the harbor issues to the delegate body. We vote on them. We take positions on issues. We have an executive committee that runs the organization as a business. We have a property in Situate, so we maintain the building. And then we have officers that handle the finances. So it's a well-oiled organization. I think bringing it up into the new millennia has helped, and it's just become a well-oiled organization.
That's
And from
great.
what I was told, and I'm a little biased because I love what I do and I love who I work for, but our state organization that we work closely with, the Division of Marine Fisheries, sent out a survey to industry organizations, and it was a checks and balance of who's who and what do we do. Um, we got, not publicly, but I got a nod saying we are the gold standard of fishing organizations because we have elections, we keep minutes, we have committees. We're not just a website, we're a body that meets regularly. And we have a trade show where we bring together industry organizations, trades, academia comes, offshore wind comes, whale people come, conservation, marine debris. So it's like we try to bring all of the entities together under the common good for the fishing industry.
Wow. I what comes out to me is how organized y'all are. And I feel that that is something that is definitely lacking as a whole for commercial fishing because we are all such small businesses and really the weight comes falls on the partners a lot of the time. And so from my understanding, you guys are championing the lobstermen for any kind of regulation, regulatory, political, y'all are the voice for these lobstermen. Is that correct?
Correct. So in Massachusetts, we have 1,000 permits and 750 or so are actively being fished. And of those 750, we have right around 650. So we represent the majority of the commercial lobster industry in Massachusetts. And we make it clear when we talk to regulators, legislators, state and federal, that nobody represents us, we represent ourselves.
Amazing. How does one join your organization?
We have on our website, lobstermen.com. Anyone can join. We have a voting member, which you have to hold a coastal lobster permit. We have an associate member, and then we have a business member. So like I said, we have right around 1,800 members from Canada to Cape May, New Jersey. And, we were established in 1963 by the commercial fishermen, and we are still run. My boards in my offices are all commercial lobstermen.
Wow. Are there partners of commercial fishermen that are in your organization?
Partners, how?
As in, are any of the wives, fishermen's wives or girlfriends, have they signed up? Are they more active members as well?
Yeah, some have as supporting members. Yep. And, they're actively involved. Like I said, at our trade show, it's a weekend social. We do a lot for the wives. We make sure we have activities that are specific for them. And, to say thank you to them for supporting the fishermen because it takes a family, it takes a village, really.
Right. That's amazing that you honor these women because they are the unsung heroes, like you mentioned before we jumped on this
Yep.
interview. I'd love to know what kind of activities do you have for them?
So we usually have cooking demonstrations. We have crafts over the last 40 years. They've made everything from blankets to lamps to picture frames to, sea glass artwork, all kinds of great things. And, we really just try to make sure that they're thought of and
Right.
acknowledged.
That's lovely. I'd love to know when it comes to when tragedies strike, because unfortunately we know that commercial fishing is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. A CDC study said it's a 27 times higher fatality rate than the average job. And if anybody knows this, it's the partners of commercial fishermen because we think about that every time they're out on the ocean. And we also wonder if it's going to be the last time we'll see them when they do leave. And I know that that might sound dramatic, but it's actually really true. That's how we feel. A lot of us anyway. I know every time my husband would leave, I would wonder in the back of my head, is this the last time? So when tragedies strike, how do y'all come together for the community? And can you share an instance where that might have happened?
Sure. So over the years, I've seen everything from tragedy can come in the form of loss of life, which is the most tragic. Fundraisers are held. The industry comes together, supports the fundraisers, GoFundMe pages. We share them, we support them, we make donations. And, other tragedies that I've seen over the course of my time is, loss of vessels. Fires have consumed vessels where, again, fundraisers have been held. Most fishermen probably 10, 12 years ago were self-insured. And because some fishermen would rather take the risk on themselves, which, some individuals underestimated the cost of rebuilding vessels. So now most harbors in the Northeast require insurance on vessels, which is beneficial to the individuals. But, tragedies, they come up in all different ways. In any way we can help, we have resources available for mariners' children. There's a group called the Shaw Fund. The Shaw Fund supports children of mariners who have lost their lives or become incapable of working due to injuries or illness. And I've heard of them, supporting them through colleges or buying computers, which is great. And then we also have other organizations that do a lot of safety training to prevent injuries and loss of life. So we encourage our members in the industry alike to participate in these free trainings.
Amazing. Yeah, the safety for sure. 80% of fishermen who are lost at sea weren't wearing safety gear, and it's just mind-blowing to know that statistic. However, the positive point is that the number one reason that they do is because their partners tell them to, and the number two reason is because their kids tell them to. And it just shows how powerful the influence of the families truly are for fishermen to stay safe on the water.
Right. And we also worked with the Northeast Center for Occupational Safety, and they're fantastic. They did yeoman's work on the Life Vest for Lobstermen campaign, and we had a lot of our delegates work with them and to field test these new flotation devices, PFDs, and they redesigned them to work around what the constraints are that they need to wear them on a regular basis. And, people are hard to change habits, but I found that fishermen are even harder to change habits. So, I do see them more so on the lighter in the hair fleet, the older fleet. But I think as time comes on, we'll see more and more of them.
Right. Yes. And Northeast Center for Occupational Health. Yes, they are so incredible. We spoke with Mandy Rome and she gave
Mandy
us,
was one of them. Yep.
yes,
She
it's
she she
amazing.
drove that van up and down the coast in the rain and she did a great job.
Yeah, I really truly appreciate all she does. And she is just such an open heart and full of information and wanting to pass along that wisdom to all of us so we can better our lives. And it's just so nice to connect with us.
We gave her an award a couple of years ago at our trade show for her
Oh,
efforts, and the other girl's name escapes me, but the two of them drove that van thousands of miles.
wow. Well deserved. That's
Yep.
amazing. And I'd love to know 18 years. That's an incredible, I mean, that's a voter. That's an adult that can vote. So that is a long time. That's amazing.
Yeah. I
Wonder,
just Go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, please go, please.
I just sometimes I can't believe it. It's, I say it like it was yesterday because I remember it like it was yesterday, and so much has transpired since then. And when I became the director 11 plus years ago, we had probably one of the most contentious times in my career happen 2 days before my promotion or something of the such. And it was just out of the fire and out of the frying pan and into the fire I went. And I definitely got a thick skin that year because I just learned that, people are impassioned and education is key on all issues. So I learned a lot that year, and I make it my mission to make sure that if I know something, I share it with the members.
Wow. Well, do tell. What was it?
Oh boy, it was our biggest issue. The North Atlantic right whale first closure in the Northeast came into play, and it was quite contentious. So my then president and I went on a campaign to meet with every congressional member in the state, even if they lived 100 miles from the coast, because the closure was 4 months: January, February, March, April, May. And it takes a month either end of the closure. So it would have been a 6 month closure. And the month of January was key because they would have to take their gear out starting in December when a lot of the markets for the holidays are just gearing up. And we advocated really, ferociously, nicely.
Mm.
And we were able to gain back the month of January because the right whale sighting data did not warrant closing the fleet out for that month. So, we still
Wow.
have the closure in place. Massachusetts is still fishing under the most restrictive regulations for lobster anywhere. And we have now over 12,000 square miles closed for those 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So we are hoping through the next, I couldn't tell you how many committees and commissions, but the Atlantic Large Whale Take Reduction Team, I sit on that. And we're waiting for the new biological opinion to come out sometime now. Like we're all waiting. And we're hoping that the risk reduction isn't as severe as the previous one was because the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration did that biological opinion based upon the worst case scenario, which a federal judge ruled you cannot manage to the worst case scenario. So we're hoping that somewhere down the road we might get a refund. We've heard maybe not, but we're gonna certainly try.
Wow. Oh my God. Talk about, yeah, definitely jumping in the fire on that one. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
So, okay, this is bringing up some questions that I had about that, and it escaped me. So I'm just going to keep going and it will come back.
sure.
So
Yep, that's
I would,
okay.
yeah, thanks. I would like to know what kind of challenges do you see now that differ from when you first entered working with MLA? And what are some similarities that you're seeing that have been consistent throughout your career?
So the new challenges, well, they're not really new, but they're becoming more reality, is the offshore wind world. So we have two wind farms in our southern waters off of the coast of Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard and New Bedford. So in those waters, there's Vineyard Wind 1 and Revolution Wind, which I just learned a judge ruled that they can resume construction because the administration put a halt on it, which it's it's a yo-yo. So we wait for the next administration to change things and then it just goes back and forth. So there's no consistency. The world of offshore wind is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And I've been following it closely for 14 years. And it is definitely going to surpass the right whale issue in short order.
Wow. And this question actually latches onto what you're talking about too, and the previous one. Since you have so much experience speaking with political leaders and people from NOAA and any kind of scientists, regulator, researchers, I know from experience from talking to people who have been dealing with different industries and different organizations that communication can be the biggest issue of how we speak to each other. And I have scientists coming up to me saying, how do we connect with the fishermen? And, fishermen are over it. I get it, obviously, from our side. And researchers can be really hard to connect with and get answers from. So how have you found the best way to communicate with people who are not on the ocean, living it every single day, but feel that they have the best view and the best way forward to preserve these fishing grounds? What is the best way that you feel is to communicate?
So yeah, so we work closely with a lot of academic institutions. We work with
Mhm.
Northeastern, we work with UMass Dartmouth, UMass Boston, and MITC grants, all of them, UMaine. The the one thing that I see is everyone wants the time of the fisherman. They want to learn. And I just had this conversation. I just went to New York City on Monday morning for a meeting on a new and emerging concern, marine carbon dioxide removal. And it is not new, and it's new in my world because I just learned about it a
Right.
month ago or two, and or actually a year ago, sorry. But it has been around, and the conversations are coming out of the Paris Accord and all these pacts and agreements, and on an international scale. So I look at it when people are trying to connect with the fishermen, they're not going to talk to people willingly. They work hard, they go to work, they come home, they don't want to be bothered. We get requests for surveys to be sent out. We vet them. I send them to my board, to my officers. They review them. They read between the lines, like what are they trying to get at? So fishermen, I've learned over the years, some fishermen they'll participate and some fishermen won't. So communication is through organizations like us or other fishing organizations or even through the state agencies. Um, we have a good working relationship with our Division of Marine Fisheries. You know, the director and I, we make an agreement. We can agree to disagree. My job is to push him, and his job is to probably say no, but it's okay. But the fishermen by nature, they don't want to be contacted directly by entities.
Right. And I get it. And a lot of I tell people too, the best way to reach a fisherman is to talk to their partner because we are the ones that can talk to them every day and also in a way vet what they are trying to communicate to the fishermen. And we understand that fishermen, not only are they busy and exhausted, but also sometimes when they participate in some of these studies, they feel that it backfires on them. And so why would they want to go
Exactly.
forward with working with an organization that may even shrink their grounds even more? It is definitely, it's frustrating and it's it's painful to me to know that people are dismissing the wisdom of fishermen because if they really want safety and they want, or if they really want our oceans to remain bountiful, they need to go to the people that are the wisdom holders that actually fish it, know it every single day. And I learned
That's right.
the saying, you can't learn to swim by reading about water. And I love this.
I like that.
Isn't that so good?
I like that. I'm gonna have to borrow that.
Yes, please borrow it.
Oh,
You
that's
can't learn to
great.
swim by reading about water. You know,
That's
change,
great.
positive change in our ocean does not only exist within boardrooms and labs and classrooms. It exists when you bring in the voices of the coastal communities. And I truly appreciate that you guys are a platform for the communities because not only are partners the gateway to the fishermen, but they're also freaking exhausted. They're raising the kids
Exactly.
by themselves. They're maintaining the fishing
Exactly.
businesses, and we're trying to figure out who do we talk to that will actually listen to us. And I thank you for all you do. And man, yeah, y'all do sound like the gold standard of how an organization needs to operate.
And the other thing we advocate for, and it goes a long way, is when we have surveys, especially at our trade show, if they want fishermen to sit down and fill out a survey, give them something. I don't care if it's a baseball hat or a gift card for Dunkin' Donuts or a Visa gift card. It goes a long way. And Northeastern did that. They took the advice, they baked it into their grant, and guess what? They've never had so much participation. And it's not the $50 gift card, it's the principle that they're being acknowledged for their time.
100%. I love that so much. And that is something that I feel has been really important in building community and also trust in community is asking whoever you want these answers from, ask them first what you can do for them. Don't
Right.
tell them that I need your time. Okay, well, what the heck? I have no
Yeah.
energy to give anymore. Ask me what I can, how you can help me, and I can help you if I have the capacity to do so. And yes, I love that. It's just so nice chatting with
Here's
you.
one saying I'll leave you with because I look
Please.
at it this way. My grandfather was 98 when he passed away,
Oh,
and he
wow.
used to pass time. Now we do what with time? We spend time because
Mm,
time is a commodity. So
right.
if people are asking for a fisherman's time, they should compensate them.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And oh, 98.
Yep,
What a
yep,
beautiful saying to carry with you
yep,
and to share with us. Thank you for that.
yep.
And I'm wondering, speaking of that and age, are you seeing the older generation helping younger generation of fishermen into the industry? Or are you seeing new younger fishermen come into the industry? What is that like up where you are?
Yeah, so we're a limited access fishery, so there's not an unlimited number of permits. So we are seeing the next generation of fishermen come. It doesn't mean they're 20, it doesn't mean they're 30. It might mean that they're 40 or 50, but the aging of the fleet is real. They are helping them by trying to get them to get involved and pay attention. I know a lot of the younger guys because you've got the young guys that have a wife and kids and are just straight out. They don't have time to go to meetings at night. We've tightened up our meeting schedule to accommodate them. We give out more information so that they're staying informed so they don't have to physically come to a meeting monthly. So I think the older generation is really trying to shepherd the next generation to advocate on their behalf. Just because they're a member of the Massachusetts Lobstermen's Association, their voices need to be heard too. And that's the message that I hear. Because when we do have meetings and I do see the mixed age, it's great. We even have some young women that are fishers,
Mm-hmm.
and they're involved. And I get it. When you come into a room of 30 fishermen and their usually average age is around 55 to 60, and you're a young person, it's kind of intimidating. But I do encourage them to speak up. And our body is pretty open and receptive, and they won't allow any nonsense to happen, which is good.
Right. I believe that too. And it's interesting about the age thing. There's a woman who wanted to be on a board. I won't say which, but on in the southeast coast, and she is from a fishing family. And but she's not a fisherman.
Yep.
But one of the reasons that the people weren't excited, or I guess, or wanting to have her on the board is they said, well, she doesn't have that much experience and on the water. And I'm thinking, but she probably knows more than many people just
Right.
by living that life. And so it's interesting to know that there is age bias on any level, any spectrum, young or older, and that to respect our elders, to respect the wisdom that they have, but also to appreciate the people that are young and that have the ability, the passion, and can withstand a lot and can post on social media and are able to get the word out in new and different ways. That is, both are very valuable in their own right, 100%.
Yep.
Gender doesn't matter. It's just if
No.
you're in it, if your heart's in it, then let's go. Like that's what it's
Yep.
all about. And speaking of heart, fishermen's wives groups. So wondering,
Yep.
do you work with any fishermen's wives groups? Is Gloucester Fishermen's Wives, have you guys spoken with them or any other groups
We
around?
work, I know Angela personally, and we don't work with that group directly, but we do support peripherally. And the Gloucester Fishermen's Wives has been around for generations, and they do a great job up in that region.
They are, I don't like icons to me, them and the Newport Fishermen's Wives. And I would love to connect with Angela. I'm gonna connect with you afterwards to see if there's any way
Yeah,
that I would be able to connect with her. I would love to hear
absolutely.
about what they do.
She also works with the Fishing Partnership Support Services.
Oh,
So
okay.
that is a great resource that does all the safety training and drill
Mhm.
instructor and CPR training.
Okay.
So I know we will see each other in October at Seafood Day at the State House.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Well, I admire everything that they do. We've gone to Gloucester twice and I always get a picture in front of the statue of the fisherman's wife. It's just so touching.
Yeah.
I would love to know more about what they do. So, okay, wanted to touch base about something that maybe not is a typical conversation to have, but as we were talking about fishing being such a high risk job, does do you see faith or spirituality or any type of that kind of a connection to a higher power come into play for the people that you work with?
No,
No. Yeah.
no. I don't, we don't really engage in politics, religion. We keep it out of our wheelhouse. I just, I've never even thought that. I mean, I know all these guys, they go to work, they put their head down.
Yeah.
Most of them are quiet individuals. There's maybe a few that are talkative, but
Mhm.
most of them, they're just, they put their head down and go to work.
Yeah. No, I get that. I asked because, as I mentioned before, how fishermen's partners, we are worrying about their safety. That's like the number one thing. And so it's interesting when I ask partners what they do. Like, is prayer a part of their go-to method to relieve some of that stress? And some of them say no, and some of them say that visualization methods that they use to visualize that their partner's boat is like a cork on the water, unsinkable, and they
That's
send,
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they send that energy out there, and that's how they are able to connect. And my mother-in-law, whose husband was a fisherman, and both of her children as well, her daughter and my husband. I asked her, "What the heck do you do?" When I started out, I'm freaking out. I don't really know. It was a lot easier for him to be in Bristol Bay, Alaska, far away, than it was for him to be fishing 20 miles offshore where we lived, because I was so much closer to the
Right.
the action, the what do you call it, the battlefield, whatever you want to say.
Yep.
But she said, you, she said, you just visualize, you pray for a white light of protection to surround their boat, send them love, and then move on with your day, or else you're going to lose it. I thought that
Yep.
is great. And that is something I've shared with the community since day one. I'm like, you've got to just put that trust in their abilities, put your love out there, and then move on, because you can spiral really quickly.
My uncle Dave is our secretary treasurer, and he's the
Uh-huh.
reason I'm here. Well, he recuses himself from anything to do with me staying, whatever. He's like, I have nothing to say.
Yeah.
Uh, he still fishes. He's going to be 83, and sometimes he goes out alone. And I just send a little prayer, and I'm like, and I tell him, listen, you're a grown man. I love you, and you're
Right.
going to do what you do. And God forbid if anything happens, I'm just going to say he died doing what he loved.
Right. Yeah.
And that's, and we've had some people that have passed away at the helm. And, some of these fishermen, they're going to die at the helm.
Mhm.
They just don't want to stop. And, whether it's a heart attack or something, it's unfortunate, but I'm hoping he retires next year. I hope it's last year between you
Right.
and I and everyone else
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah. We'll put those vibes out for sure. Uh, yeah, it can be hard to take fishermen away from the ocean. I mean, that's just their life, the literal life. That's all they've want to know, and that's what keeps them regulated and happy. And
Mhm.
when those tragedies strike, if and when a fisherman passes away, what does it look like? What does that community support look like for
We
the
come
families?
together and, we support the widow or the family that's there. And, it's tragic. Um, and we keep their spirit alive through our meetings, whether they were actively involved. There's one of our board members that comes to mind, Bill Doherty. He passed away, and
Mm.
he would always say something like, we need to table this till next month, or, it's just he was always the voice of calm reason. So we try to keep their spirit alive internally as an organization. And the industry really, I've seen rally around widows and family members to keep their um, boats going, their fishing business going. I mean, guys have gone out and hauled the gear, brought it in for the widow, because it's, especially if a fisherman dies mid-season, it's really hard to go collect 800 traps if you don't even know how to do that. Um, so I've heard that, seen that. And then as things progress and, the reality comes and permits become an issue, boat storage and transferability and all that stuff. So we've helped, family members, girlfriends, wives with all that. So to get them to the right people for, we have a classified ad section on our website in our newspaper we get the boats listed, the permits listed. I keep a little list when I know there's some widows that are trying to sell permits, and I just put it out there on the side to people that might be looking because they're limited. And, I think the more we can do to help families heal, whether it's helping them transfer the permit, sell the permit, the better they'll be.
Wow, those are things I have actually thought about, but I not to that extent of how would you get the traps back in? How would you sell the
Yeah.
boat? How would you sell the permit? That's
And like,
also, yeah.
yeah. And even like selling the gear, even if, we've helped individuals that are sickly, not terminal, but declining rapidly. And, we've helped their wives yard sale all the gear that's in the house, that's in the shed, that's in the backyard. And, you know, it's hard, but, it's money. It's real money. Each trap, whether it's new or used, new traps can run 250. Used traps can run, depending on the shape, anywhere from 100 to $40. And if you have 800, most fishermen have 1,000 if they're fishing 800. And then it comes with a lot of rope and a lot of buoys and all kinds of other tools that they need to fix and bend. And so it's definitely something I've seen fishermen step up and help.
Wow. And how many traps can they fish on a permit? Do you know?
Um, we have different lobster management areas, but each area has a different transferability. So in the Gulf of Maine, which is from Cape Cod Bay to the Canadian Maritimes, they can fish, that's area one, they can fish 800 traps. Each permit has 800 traps for area one. And then we have the Outer Cape. They have trap tag transfer programs in area two, same thing. They can fish up to 800 traps. So
Mm.
the offshore fleet has a little bit more, but there's fewer permits available. I think that fleet area three is right around 65 permits or so. And they can fish up to, I think it's getting down to about 1,800 and change. But those are the boats that go out for 5 days at a time or more.
Right.
Um, so I
Yeah.
have, that offshore fleet has its own organization. We have a couple of members that have offshore vessels, but um, the inshore fleet, the 800 trap, is where we focus our efforts on.
Interesting. It's always interesting to learn about the different fisheries because everybody is so different. There's not one size fits all. And can you remind me again the season for your lobster fishery? When does that run again? Or
So
supposed to run?
outside of our closure, we have a
Right.
closure February 1st to up to May 15th in state waters, and federal waters can open May 1st. So from May through January, they can fish.
Got
In
it.
in Massachusetts, we have the South Coast, which is New Bedford, the backside of Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket. That fishery is an earlier fishery, so they have a closure in their area of right around 5,500 square miles, which is gigantic and unjust. So we're going to be working hard to advocate to reduce that to a reasonable size because their fishery happens in the spring. So they're really being impacted by the loss of fishing grounds. And in the Gulf of Maine, our closure, it affects some guys that might have fished in those winter months, but the majority of the fleet catches their lobsters now, August through January.
Got it. So if the closures, when did that come into play?
2014, and it expanded over the years as the right whale litigation suits came against the government. So we are, like I said, we're strongly going to advocate to reduce the area that is closed to allow some fishing to resume in areas where there is not the high density of right whales. So we pretty much follow the right whales from the time they get to the coast until they leave. We have different organizations that are funded by the government to fly over, monitor, catalog, identify individual animals while they're here. So when they leave, it's like a switch. They shut the lights off and they're gone. And it's
Wow.
usually right around that May 15th time, which is just peculiar. They know where the food is. So,
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. That's so interesting. And going to the wind, what kind of reactions or what kind of conversations are they having with fishermen? Are they having direct conversations with fishermen?
so they have lots of conversations. We are actively engaged with all of the developers in the Northeast. We've been actively engaged in offshore wind, like I said, for 14 years. And the developers that we've worked with over the years have been, you know, amenable and accommodating as much as possible to the fishing industry. We've worked through some of the challenges in the Mass Rhode Island wind lease area. There's a lot of organizations that are deeply involved, boulder relocations, scour protection, cabling, spacing. We've had an agreement. They came up with a 1 by 1 nautical mile grid for the fixed wind turbine structures. I know floating is going to the West Coast. It's going to come to the East Coast, but floating is a different animal, and I don't foresee that being an environment that many, if any, fishermen will be able to fish in and around just because of the underlying cabling and uncertainty of gear drift and float. So I think it's going to be a whole other conversation that's going to, it's taken place now, but I think it's been stalled under this administration, which isn't a bad thing.
Right. When you say floating, what do you mean exactly?
So the structures are floating. They're not fixed to the bedrock. They're not like in our current wind lease area, Mass Rhode Island, they pile drove structure. So they're pilings. Um, the ones that are floating are anchored and they have cables and they are taut or they float. Um, it's a whole
Wow.
different animal.
Got it. I'm first thing in my head, I'm thinking, is this stable? Is there stability issues with it falling
Yeah,
over?
they have them. They currently have 5 deployed off of the coast of Scotland. Our state agency took a trip with the New Hampshire and Maine delegation to go visit these offshore wind turbines. And the report back was that they were stable and the sea state was 6 to 10 foot.
Wow. Okay.
So,
To be continued.
yes.
Okay. So let's end on a high note.
Okay, that's good.
What kind of events do you guys have coming up?
So we have our seafood day at the State House in October. That's organized by the Fishing Partnership Support Services, and it brings together industry organizations, the Division of Marine Fisheries. We get to go, up to the State House and meet with legislators and talk about all the different legislation on the Hill. It's a great day. And then in January, we have our annual weekend and industry trade show, which is more of a social. We have, some seminars for the industry. We have about 55 to 60 vendors that come, and we just really try to make it as fun as possible. And it's nice to hear a lot of kibitzing going on. So that will
Right.
carry us through the winter, and it's definitely it's a good time. And Margaritaville just opened last year on Cape Cod. In this past January, we were their first real big event. So they did a great job, and we're really looking forward to going back there.
Yeah, can you tell me more about that? Because I see it in the newsletters every week.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a 2 full day trade show with seminars. We have dinner Friday night and Saturday night. We do a silent auction. We have raffles. We have a hospitality suite, which is open for like 3 hours in the afternoon and 4 hours in the evening. So it's just a great way for industry to come together and catch up with people they only get to see once a year because, when you think about it, these all these guys go to work and their wives are either working or they're raising their families or chasing their grandkids. So this is a way for them to come together in January. So it's Cape Cod in January, which has gotten better over the years. It used to be really cold and freezing. Now it's kind of seasonable-ish. It's only in the 40s and 30s, not the teens,
Mm.
and subarctic. So it's definitely a good time.
Oh, that's nice. That's actually way warmer than it is in Wilmington, North Carolina in January. We get down to the teens and it gets cold.
Yeah, we're surrounded by water on Cape
Yeah.
Cod, so that keeps it a little bit
Uh,
more seasonable.
nice. That's where
Yeah.
my husband bought his lobster boat from Dennis, Massachusetts, and had it trucked over to California because he knows that the East Coast lobster boats are the best. So we had to
Yeah, that's
pick it
great.
up.
Oh, and
That's
oh.
that's awesome. I would like to know what do you see for the future of MLA in the next 5 or 10 years? What do you hope for the future?
So for the organization collectively, I see definitely younger guys and girls getting involved and becoming more a part of the organization. We have our foundation that does a lot of educational and research grants. We are definitely going to be doing a lot more in that realm. So 5 years from now, I'm hoping that we will be doing a lot of research on the lobster industry because there's something happening between the surface and the bottom with the settlement. So we have been looking for grants to do stuff like that in partnership with UMass Dartmouth. And the industry, from where I sit, what I've seen, they are just becoming more diverse in their fisheries. So a lot of guys are doing other fisheries. So in the off season, they're tuna fishing or they're, pot. If they have a hauler on their boat, they can haul fish pots, conch pots. So they're doing a lot more than just one species, which is good that
Mhm.
it's available.
Yeah, that is interesting. I've learned with the fisheries and the warmer waters. As the waters get warmer, new species are coming into different fisheries too. And so who knows what kind of opportunities that can open for the fishermen, like what you're talking about right now.
Yep.
So what I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here, but if you had to have an elevator pitch to somebody who maybe is outside of the industry, like a public facing comment about the lobstermen in Massachusetts or commercial fishing as a whole, either way, what would you say?
I would say that commercial fishermen are stewards of the sea, and without a healthy and clean ecosystem, they would have no business. They provide clean protein to consumers and should be highlighted as such. And the United States fisheries are the most sustainable in the world, period. And we should be promoting and encouraging consumers to buy locally sourced seafood.
Heck yes. I applaud that 100%. And on that note, I feel that we hear the statistic that, and I don't even know if this statistic is true, but people saying 90% of the oceans are overfished and blah, blah, blah. And there's all these, doom and gloom. And I say, well, why don't we challenge ourselves to look at the 10%, but not only that, the 1% that is actually fishing safely and in a way that's going to help the oceans thrive. And that is like what you're saying. United States fisheries, this Massachusetts lobster fisheries, and how many regulations and rules we have to go to make sure that we're actually doing it correctly. It's absolutely, absolutely everything that you said. Let's
Yep,
look at the positive and not focus on all the negative. We have got to take advantage of the fact that we have this amazing quality, high protein available. And lucky for us,
absolutely.
we have easier access to it.
And we just did an event in the Marshfield, and it was Lobster Fest, and people were great. And I talked to hundreds of people, and they're like, "What's your favorite lobster?" I said, "The one that I can get the closest to my house, because that way it reduces your carbon footprint even more." So we're all in this carbon reduction mode, and we need to think about that. There's a term called locavore. We turned it into lobstervore. So
Oh,
lobstervore, you need to procure your lobster close to your home so you are reducing your carbon footprint. So
oh
it's
my
a
gosh.
win-win.
I love I'm writing this down right now. I love that. The thought of the reducing the carbon footprint. Eat
Yeah.
local. Know your
And
fishermen, know your
also,
food.
and from where I sit, and I say that with no disrespect to any other fishermen around the world, I like to know where my seafood's coming from. And knowledge is power, but it's also detrimental because the more I learn, the less I want to eat that I don't know where it came from. And it's not just seafood, it's any food. You should know where your food is coming from. We've lost that disconnect.
Hmm.
Lost that connection. As a disconnect. And the next generation consumers, there's not a lot of seafood being put in front of kids today. So, it's a clean, healthy protein, and we need to really highlight that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And thank you for that time, for your time and explaining and sharing your heart with us. And if you could again tell us the best place to connect with the Massachusetts Lobstermen's Association.
Sure, it's been a pleasure. And we're in the process of a new web design. So
Mm.
it's lobstermen.com. And, we have a contact us page. And if anyone has any questions, if you send us a message, it comes directly to me and I will respond.
Great. And they have a wonderful newsletter too. So definitely sign up
That's
for that.
great. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Megan.
Thank you for your time and let us know if there's anything that we can do to continue to help support y'all. Thank you so much for listening. To support our community, I'd so appreciate it if you'd tap the subscribe button to this podcast or write a review. And if you're a POCF who wants to connect further, go to POCFpride.com for weekly vlogs and to learn about opportunities to join our private communities. We'd love to have you.